Stan Hustad, leader of the What It Takes radio company, and we are here to help you as an author to make more money and sell more books. Let me tell you how we can do that. We put together as a feature about a year ago 7 separate little program modules about how you can use podcasting to build your career as a writer. And we call it Booking to Broadcasting. I think you'll enjoy it and have more fun. Welcome, the What It Takes radio company, and we're proud to present today a program just for you. From booking to broadcasting, how to grow your audience, sell more books, and have more fun as a performance author. And Adventure 1. We begin with the story of my author daughter, and here's the deal. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen and friends. My name is Stan Hustad, and I'd like to entitle this little presentation, this little coaching event, from booking to broadcasting. I love books. I have had thousands of books. I've given most of them away, but throughout my life, as a teacher, as a broadcaster, as simply a reader, I've thousands of books. I love books. Books will always be with us. And one of the things that I have learned, however, is that, I'm not really an author because I didn't really engage in my book writing in order to be in the book business. It was simply supplementary to the other projects I had in life. And so I can't claim to be an author, but I think I can teach you or help you or guide you in a way that might help you, because you are the creators, you are the authors, you are the vital people in keeping civilization alive. So let me do what I usually do, and that is simply to say, let me tell you a story. It was Justine coming up. She was just about finally ready to graduate. My daughter, Megan, who, because we raised her overseas, didn't have television. She read books and all kinds of books. And her final year in college, she got a job with Barnes & Noble, and she thrived in it. And they thought she was wonderful because she was a lady of books and talent. In fact, she was also a pretty good writer. Her senior thesis at the University of Minnesota, the guy said, we ought to think about publishing it, because it simply was a description of the early suffrage movement in the United States. She said, "Dad, I'm going to New York." And I said, "Well, really?" She said, "Yep. I've decided that I love books, and I'm going to be a writer, and I'm going to get involved in the publishing business. And if you're going to be a writer, an author, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. So I'm going off." And that's what she did. She and a friend, she told me that she had found out that she could get a job at the Union Square Barnes & Noble, and if she made $9 an hour, she could rent, along with her friend, this dumpy little apartment in Brooklyn, but it would be in a start. And off she went. And she became very, very successful, worked very, very, very hard, and has had quite a career at it, ups and downs and back and forth. And I've suffered through that career with her in many ways, where she cried out and said, "Dad, I don't think I can make it. I don't think I can make it." And I would say, "Please keep going. We won't let you starve. Just keep pushing on." And she's done very, very well. And one of the books she wrote, she actually interviewed Donald Trump as she featured him, and that was before he became all that he was. But of course, he was the world-class entrepreneur. And she learned an expression, and she uses it all the time, a New York City expression, which is, "Dad, here's the deal." Well, briefly, may I tell you, here is the deal. From booking to broadcasting, I think it's a step you're going to have to take, and I think it could be very helpful to you. First of all, what is happening is people are not reading as much anymore. There are less readers. There are more viewers, that's for sure. There are more listeners. There are more people seeking entertainment. But of course, the book business is hard. To make a living publishing books, to make a living writing books, it's tough. However, I think there is a way for you to discover that because of the challenges that are before us, plus the opportunities that we have, I'm not a booker, but I'm a broadcaster, and I know how to help people market themselves, how to engage in what I call performance marketing, putting on a show, helping people use the sound, the visual, the effects to make their mark in their marketplace, and in such a way they will be able to be much more effective in doing what they love, which is being somewhat introverted, but hey, in a business where they're going to have to perform, they're going to have to go out and speak, they're going to have to be on book tours, they're going to have to be on radio and television, they're going to have to live in an audio-visual world, and they're going to have to learn how to perform in that world so that they can do what they love, which is to share their wisdom, insight, and truth, and tell their stories to the world, and that you'll be able to make a living in your world, even in spite of the difficulties in the real world. So that's the deal. That's what I'm going to try and do. So let's begin to work on that deal, and let me explain to you how we will help you keep booking on, but perhaps put a little bit of broadcasting in what you are, and most importantly, how you will make that do for you. And we welcome your thoughts, questions, suggestions. StanHusted@gmail.com, 520-664-7002, USA. Here we go. Number 2, the What It Takes Radio Company. We present From Booking to Broadcasting, how to grow your audience, have more fun as a performance author. And here in adventure number 2, it's still a mystery to so many, so let me try and explain something about this podcasting stuff. Okay, here we go. Good for you. I'm grateful. You decided to go to round 2, episode 2. That means you're going to learn the first lesson about podcasting. In fact, the second lesson about podcasting and broadcasting already. First of all, you've got to make it good enough so they won't click and switch and not come back. You know, getting people to finish the program just like getting them to finish the book. It's not easy. So we have to continually keep up the energy and the interest and the ability for people to say, okay, I'll turn the page. The second thing you learned about podcasting and broadcasting is always begin with a story. Always. Always start with a story that the audience can relate to. You see, it's not about you. It's about them. That's your third lesson about being a broadcaster. Here we go. Now, I don't know if any of you really know what podcasting is all about. Well, let me try and explain it to you. Perhaps some of you are old enough to have had an iPod. The iPod was before we had the smartphone. And of course, that was where Steve Jobs changed the name from Apple Computer to just Apple because it wasn't about computing. It was about music. And it was an iPod. Now, do you know what that word meant? Well, here, let me tell you. Individual, personal, on demand. You see, most people had listened to radio to listen to the music that the disc jockey played whenever they played it. Or you had to play a record and do that. But now, you could play the music that you wanted. You could play it anywhere you were, and you could play it anytime you wanted. You didn't have to do anything with the record company or their product. You didn't have to deal with radio stations and what they wanted. It was you. You could literally have 1,000 of your favorite songs right in the palm of your hands. Personal on demand. And of course, now we take that for granted, but when it first came out, it was magic, truly. And of course, it made a difference in the world. It has also profoundly changed the radio business. And let me explain that to you. Now, when I was first involved in radio a number of years ago, I was fortunate enough to be a part of a large international radio station. It was worldwide in Europe. I had some experience with the BBC and some of that. But this was a radio station where when I was on the air, it was a 500,000 watt transmitter. It took a diesel engine to create enough energy because there were 5 huge 700-foot towers going up, and that's what it took. A huge multi-million-dollar operation for me to stand in front of a microphone and speak the words, play the music, tell the stories. And it went a long ways around the world. Not fully around the world, not at all. But that's what it took. Now, here I am, and this little radio program, because I will also turn it into a radio program as well as a visual program, which is simply radio with pictures, is I stand here with a $50 microphone, which is just fine, a $20 piece of software, and a computer, and I can put together a program that literally will be on the air everywhere there is a phone, an iPad, or a computer. Anybody, anywhere in the world can listen to it when they want to, whenever they want to, as many times as they want to. Personal on-demand broadcasting. And it will change the world. Right now, part of the problem is that the traditional radio station is saying, how do we survive? It costs millions of dollars, and then these people are competing with us with a better product, and they're doing it for a few $100. And it's a difficult thing. Just as we're finding it very, very difficult to do that in terms of getting people's attention, we have to adjust to that. Now, there's also an issue that I was one of the first persons to, along with about 3 or 4 others, we invented the idea of the e-book. Now, that's a long, long story, but we invented it, but it didn't work out. I finally made $45 on the project, but if you want to hear the story about how we invented the e-book, yet unfortunately, Amazon decided that they were going to take that idea over. And of course, they've made billions of dollars with it. But it also means that the e-book now is a way of distributing your work. And now, of course, the audiobook is part of our business. And by the way, Amazon, of course, has changed. It used to be that if you wanted to have an audiobook, you actually had to have a real book first. And that's no longer what they say. Hey, if you can put together a good audio program, we'll sell it. If you can put together a good audiobook or program, it doesn't even have to be a book, we'll sell it as an audiobook. It's Audible. And that again has changed your world. That again is part of the competition. People can listen. And in fact, they want to listen. They want the energy and the personality and the expression and the nuance. They don't want just a book to be read to them. They want it to be performed. They don't just want someone reading a story, they want somebody giving them an audio experience. You know, it's an entertainment world. Right now, everything is focused on, will it entertain me in some way? That's the world we deal with. That's the deal. And very, very much they want that on demand whenever they want it. They're very choosy about what they will listen to, what they will read, what they will watch, and how they will live. Now, that's what podcasting is all about, and we can help you do that. It's not nearly as hard as it may seem to be, but it is something that you, as an author, can become not only an author, but an audio performer. Think of that now. You're not just an author, you're an audio, or maybe even a visual performer. You were involved in writing and publishing, and now you are going to be involved in staging and performing. Staging and performing. So if you can begin to handle that paradigm change, you will find your work may not only become more profitable, it may even become more personable. You may actually have better and more intimate relationships with those people who you call they're not your readers. They're not your fans. They are your audience. You need to reach your audience. And now we'll try to tell you how to do that using the microphone. We'll be back for session 3. And we welcome your thoughts, questions, suggestions. StanHusted@gmail.com, 520-664-7002, USA. And we press on, the What It Takes Radio Company. Once again, we present another adventure number 3, from booking to broadcasting. We're going to help you be a performance author. And for today, right now, he wrote a book on the internet. It's a fascinating story, and there's something you can learn from it. Okay, thank you for coming back for lesson number 3. Adventure number 3. I oftentimes say in podcasting, these are episodes, maybe chapters, maybe events, but oftentimes I like to put a little mystery into it and call them adventures, because we never quite know how it will turn out. And that's part of what it's all about. It also means that you can do a lot of experimentation. And that leads me to another story. Now, this is even pre-iPod. This is in the early days of the internet. And let me tell you what happened. It was kind of a geeky book in some respects, but it did well. It was on life and business strategy, particularly at a time. And this is in the early days of the internet. And if you read the book, the amount of credits and thank yous were extremely long. And you wonder, what's all this about? Well, in an interview, he explained it. He wrote the book on the internet. I mean, he didn't write the book and put it on the internet. He wrote the book on the internet. And what he did is he did just that. As he put out his first draft of chapter 1, he posted it and invited people to comment on it. And he said all kinds of things happened. People added, they said, let me tell you about this, or I was there when that happened. And all of a sudden, it was the readers who were doing proofing for him, doing fact-checking for him, telling him other things. He said it was remarkable. everybody who commented usually was very, very helpful, saved me an incredible amount of time. And so by the time I had the first draft done, it had already been quite well critiqued and corrected and edited. And it was very, very close to a finished draft. I mean, a done deal, ready for galleys. And he said, that's why I had to include over 250 people who had actually helped me write the book, because they were right alongside of me as I was doing the work. Now, I just want that little story to sit on your head for a while, because here's a possibility. I've done a program called How to Write Your First Book Using Your iPhone. How to write your first book using your iPhone. I've also taught people how to write a book without ever writing the book. And that's a part of what podcasting might be able to do for you. So think about that story, and then think about what you know about podcasting or the radio or the audio programming so far, and think about how that might work for you, because this is for you. And in the next little session, I'll try and give you a clue on it, and then show you how we took a finished book and through the power of podcasting gave it an incredible audience. Okay, that's it. We'll be back, but you think about it, and you think about it now. And we welcome your thoughts, questions, suggestions. StanHusted@gmail.com, 520-664-7002, USA. What It Takes Radio Company, a podcasting and publishing company. And we continue with adventure number 4, from booking to broadcasting, how you can be a performance author. And today, here we go. We learn how an author turned his book into a creative and powerful and profitable podcast. Here we go, adventure number 4. Like I say, it's an adventure because since I don't do these with a script, I'm never quite sure how it's going to go or where it will end up, though I always have a bit of an idea. Well, did you think about that? That might be, hey, you know what I've done? I did what Steve Pressfield taught me to do. He said, I took that one-page thing, that cardstock, and I wrote out my book outline, and now I've got, 7, 8, 9, 10 chapters, how it might go. Why don't you then say, why don't I turn each chapter into kind of an experimental podcast and actually, just speak it with my notes, and obviously with some of the things I've written down. I'll just do a podcast and see how it goes. And I'll do podcast 1, podcast 2, podcast 3, put it out every week, invite people to comment on it, and then I can take that podcast audio and I can send it to somebody like Stan, or I can do it myself. I can have that audio file, a transcription made of it. Yeah. And then I not only have the podcast, I also have the transcription. And now I've kind of got the first draft right there. And we can start going through that with the tweaking and the editor, all of the stuff we do. The old idea that your first draft is, what the word is. What you're even better now. You actually have a first draft that may be much more closer to the working order that you want. And it was a whole lot easier than spending that time in the typewriter room, in the computer room. You kind of enjoyed telling your story on the microphone, on the air. Just let that sit on your head for a while. But now let me tell you let's say you've written a book, a good book. You've struggled through it. Now, let me tell you what we did. A friend of mine referred someone that I knew who had written a book, and it was a history book. It was the development of medical mission work in Africa. You know, the heroes of that. Dr. Stanley, I presume. It was a remarkable story, but he didn't know how to put it together, how to get it out in the world. And so here's what we did: we turned each chapter into a podcast. Now, he did not have the voice or the talent to actually voice the book or perform it. He knew that. But what we did is we took each chapter and he found a piece of music that kind of set the flavor for that chapter. And he had so much fun doing that. He said, I loved that. I found some music that I could talk. Now then, he did a brief 1 or 2 minute introduction, and it was just him. Sometimes he stumbled, but it was just him. It was he really talking to the people he was talking. And then he turned it over to the voice. He used to kid. Now Stan, the voice, will go on, and then I would seek to perform it. And then at the end of that, he would come back on in his own voice now, again, and he would then have some closing comments that were not part of the actual book, but some reflections on it and some of the things, just a minute or two, and then I would come on and say, by the way, and I use his name was Raymond. If the people would like to read the book, the full thing, and not have to wait for the next week's podcast, you know where that's going. Then he gave the contact information for his website, where you could buy the book, and then we had a nice music out. It was a radio program in which the book was performed. It was introduced. The contact and the buying information was there. And please recommend this to your family and friends. And he sent it out, and it went around the world. And he said the results were remarkable. He said, and it was so much fun that I not only had my book, but I also had these series of podcasts. And then he took the podcasts, those files, and he put that into put it together, and that became kind of his equivalent of an enhanced audiobook, which was not just a bunch of cassettes or CDs or whatever else we have to have now. It was a series of radio program adventures chapters. That's a possibility. Think about the book you have already written. And, kind of like we talked to Chuck Johnson about how they got the books to be shows like in Longmire. How do you do that? How would you take each chapter of your book and turn it into an audio radio program with music and perhaps some voicing, and not just a performed or a narrated book, but a program with energy, personality, reality, and of course a way to encourage people to, if you like the story, make sure you buy the book. As I used to say on late night radio after a certain little episode, just let that sit on your head for a while. Okay? Thank you for being with us so far. Hey, there's more we can tell you and teach you, and perhaps have a conversation that counts about how we can continue to use podcasting and broadcasting as a way of turning you not only into the great author that you are, but who knows, maybe into a pretty good broadcaster. And you'll enjoy it. And it'll be fun to hear from people all over the world who haven't bought your book yet, but they might but they now know you. They now know you. We'll be back. Okay, there's a bit more to come, but how can we help you? Let us know. StanHusted@gmail.com. Leave a message at 520-664-7002 USA. Continuing to help you do what it takes, WIT Radio. And we present From Booking to Broadcasting to help you be a performance author. And on adventure number 5, we do this. Let's take a look at successful authors who've increased their audience and income with new and creative audio programs. We continue on, and I hope this has been helpful. We'd like to take now the next few minutes of this program, this course, this therapy session, this adventure, and see if we can't get you started, not only in some more creative ways of doing things, but perhaps how to truly get started in putting together both your authorship, your performanceship, and in effect, make it a way for you to continue to do profitably, fruitfully, and joyfully, and with a lot more fun, do what you love to do, and that is to tell your stories and share your wisdom, insight, and truth with people all around the world. That's what we want to do, and we want to be able to do it well and enjoy doing just that. We've talked about a man who took a book and turned it into a successful podcast. I've shown you how you might be able to actually even write your book online, and perhaps you could even create your book by doing a podcast first and taking that podcast and turning it into a book. And there's much more, because that would be a way to test the subject and see if it's even worth perhaps going from broadcasting to booking. Let's see if we can learn more about that. Now, a couple of just examples of something that might be helpful and useful to you as you understand. Now, most of you have probably heard of Malcolm Gladwell and his incredible work, probably seen his TED Talks. Remember, that's a lot of where he got going, is his TED Talks. But his books are well known. And of course, one of the more recent ones is Blink. And so I hadn't read the book, but what I did, I've read most of his other books, but I didn't read Blink. But I went to the library and found here's his audiobook. And so I decided to listen to it. Well, first of all, it is Malcolm actually doing it. And let me tell you, I know all about professional narration. I do it. I do it for other people. But there's something powerful about your human spirit that can come through if perhaps with some coaching and some just perseverance, that you will actually be the one who does the storytelling, does the narration. Again, I know the arguments back and forth, but I just want you to know that Malcolm did that. And I could tell that there was a little more energy and a little more spirit. I also realized, just from having heard him before, that he's taken some training. He knows a little bit about the performing art that he didn't quite have, because by his own admission, he's an introverted author. And that's why he's so good at research, because he really enjoys doing that kind of stuff. And then he has to go through the hard work of writing, which may not be quite as much fun as discovering and interviewing and doing the things that go into the writing. We all know those games. Okay, but I noticed that in effect, he did it was himself, but he made it different. It's not the book entirely, in the sense that there are occasional comments and references to the book. At the same time, there are actualities, that there are people that are quoted in the book where he has actually gotten the point where they actually said it. Or if he's describing a scene that took place particularly in one of the cases dealing with suicides. He's found ways to take some of the original news reel footage or the audio footage that was about that. So the book is not just his book being read by Malcolm. It is a book in which he is actually conducting very much like a radio program that has audio actualities and actually interviews that were done with some of the characters involved. Now that takes time and research and work, but that is very, very much part of what he's doing. And of course, if the people who are successful doing things, we learn from them. The other person is someone you may have heard about, Dr. Daniel Amen, or Amen. And he's very much known for his brain studies and the books, Your Brain, Your Life. Make your brain better. And that's what he does. But he has written a book, which many of you have heard about, and it's called Change Your Brain, Change Your Body. But this is not the audio book. This is Change Your Brain, Change Your Body, which is based on his book. Now, his books tend to be quite dense. I mean, they're really full of, I will very much guarantee you that millions of people may read his books, but not very many of them are able to complete it fully because it's just full of it. It's just overwhelming because he's a brilliant scientist on this, and he's an enthusiastic communicator. What this is primarily is that he goes through the chapters and he just discusses with a colleague what is in the chapter. Very unique. I find it very interesting and quite helpful. So these are just illustrations that I want you to think about, that there are all kinds of other possibilities. And we can share with you even many more where, in effect, it's not really your book in the traditional sense. It's not your audio book in the traditional sense. It is something more and more into the realm of broadcasting. Well, there we go, just an idea. But now we're going to try and show you that you perhaps could actually build your business, all right, and grow your audience by not even necessarily talking about your books. Let's see if that might be something you'd like to do. Let's see if perhaps it's not your book, it's not your writing, maybe it's you who could make the difference. That's next. Okay, there's a bit more to come, but how can we help you? Let us know. StanHustad@gmail.com. Leave a message at 520-664-7002, USA. Once again, the What It Takes Radio Company, a podcasting and publishing company, and we're in the business of helping you go from booking to broadcasting and become perhaps a performance author. And our show for today, here we go. Could it be that the show they want is not about your books and the things you write, but perhaps they want to hear about you? Okay, we're back, and now this is about you. I'm going to tell you 3 stories. That's what I do. I learned as a broadcaster a couple lessons. First of all, I used to do a late night radio program, and it was called Caribbean Night Call, and it was from where we did our work in the Southern Caribbean, Latin America, and it went all over the world. And it was a late night program that in effect was a kind of music and musings, late night, people who were going through the night. And it was quite successful. And I had a way of doing something that I just fell into. Now, this was before there was any kind of internet or that kind of communication, but people would actually write in and they would request songs. And of course, we oftentimes would play their songs. And I did this, and I just accidentally said this, and all of a sudden, it changed everything. Let's just say it came from a man named Jack, and he's in Jamaica. All right, and I would start in a good broadcast style, and I would say, "Well, this evening on Caribbean Night Call, we have a request, and it's coming from Jamaica. Beautiful place, love Jamaica, and the letter is from Jack." Jack says he enjoys the program, and he would like to know if perhaps I would play a request for his mother. It's her birthday coming up, and he thinks a lot of her, and he knows that her favorite song is "One Day at a Time" by Tennessee Ernie Ford. And so he would say, "Would you play it for me and my mother?" And I would pause, and I would simply say, "Hey, Jack, this is for you and your mother, one day at a time. And this is for you." They loved that. This is for you. This is for you. Those are four of the most powerful words. I did this for you. I made this specially for you. I played this song especially for you. People love to hear that. And I would suggest that you might talk about that. Did you ever say, "Hey, you know what? I think I did this book just for you. You're really the one. This is for you." Sign your books that way. This is for you. The programs you do, this is for you. The first book I wrote was actually, again, that's why I'm not an author, I was a writer. I wrote the book because I had a coaching practice that was in the financial services. And so the thing I had was I wasn't teaching them how to sell insurance and financial services because I didn't know that much about it. Because I was in the area of personal marketing and personal development. And so the name of my book was "You Make the Difference." And the whole idea was that I wasn't teaching you how to sell insurance or sell anything else. I simply made the statement that is, before they buy your stuff, they have to buy you. And so this is how to sell you. And remember now, you're perhaps in the business not only of writing books that people like, but in effect, they would like to have a relationship with you. There's something about what you do they might want to know more about. Then I also got a letter one time, and this was we were primarily religious broadcasters, so that was our subjects. And we got a nice note, and it simply said this: "Stan, I really like your program, and we enjoy it." But then you could almost hear him pause as he wrote down, "But don't you guys ever talk about anything but God?" Well, of course we do. I got his point. Well, why are we always talking about God? I know who you are and what you do, but can't you talk about something else from time to time? That totally changed our way of broadcasting. And that's when it took off, is when my listeners finally realized that I was not, just a one-beat drum. That I had a number of interests. That I could talk about a number of things. That, Stan Hustad was more than just that guy on the radio who put out this book, this program, these subjects. Now, I share that with you because I know a lot of you, because in a sense, I've heard you, because when we do the Cowboy Up podcast, obviously we're talking to authors and we talk about their book. But we talk a lot of other things too, because the interview is not about their book. The interview is about them. And we may mention the book. We may get around to the book. But the point is, we want to know their story. We want to know why, how. And some of our very, very best programs have had minimal discussion about the book, but when we push it at the end, we already have an engaged audience. Right now, I know of many authors who, if they would decide that they're just going to do a program that they would talk about anything they wanted to talk about, because they have lots of stories, lots of interests, other things they do that goes into their life. Because they are authors, they are keen observers of the human condition. They are keen observers of what's going on. They are people who can really help us understand the times. There is one particular author I'm thinking of right now who is world class in his subject. But he is wonderfully crazy and different and knows a whole lot about a whole lot of other things. And he himself is a personality. He himself has energy. And he himself could be, and his life could be, the subject of some very, very interesting programs. And obviously his life and his work and his books are going to come up. But the focus of his program should simply be, as it is for any good entertainer performer, it would be the songs they sing, the stories they tell, and the situations, and oftentimes the personal reflections that they share. So may I encourage you that maybe you should think deeper about yourself, about who you are, about what else you can contribute to people's lives and understanding, and say, you know what? I write books. I'm an author. But I am. And I am not just my books. And then find out, you may discover that inside of your life you have all kinds of wonderful things that need to be told, need to be heard. And all of a sudden we find that we're not just in touch with a good writer or a good author or a favorite writer. We actually are listening to a friend who sometimes we agree with, sometimes we don't, but they're the kind of person we'd like to have a cup of coffee with, or maybe even something stronger, and just get to know them better. Maybe that's an approach. And that's what you can easily do, very easily, on a podcast. And by the way, doing a 20-minute podcast is a whole lot more fun and a whole lot easier than trying to write an article or a booklet that would be a 20-minute read. I guarantee that. And we can help you do that. Okay, there we are. Think about the program, the podcast. It's you. It's you. And it's not only you, but you are saying to them, from my heart to your heart, this is for you. Okay, there's a bit more to come, but how can we help you? Let us know. StanHusted@gmail.com. Leave a message at 520-664-7002, USA. Well, indeed, we're just about done. What It Takes Radio has been proud to present this presentation of From Booking to Broadcasting, how to grow your audience and sell more books and have more fun as an author-performer. And now, being an author is not just sitting down and typing and writing. Well, radio is not just talking into a microphone. Here's the rest of the story, and of course, here's the pitch. Here we go. This is the final adventure, episode number 7, and then we're done. at least for this presentation. But obviously, if you'd like to be in touch with me, and perhaps we could do other presentations, conversations that count, and help you do just exactly what the goal is, that you will be able to sell more books, reach a greater and growing audience, and certainly have more fun, that you could continue to do what you love to do and do it more successfully, and perhaps, as someone said, with less fears and less tears and more joy and happiness. All of that is part of life. Now, let's remember that oftentimes in a podcast, you can even do more what the people want than actually is in the book. Now, I'll go to Dr. Amen. Change your brain, change your body, change your life. Wow, this is incredible. And there's a part of me that even as I read through it, I say, well, I really don't need to know how the brain works. You do, because you're a neuroscientist, but I just want to have a better life. Can you simplify things so it's something that will just help me be better? Well, that's a little bit that I discover is what he's really doing in the audio program, which is not the book. It's a conversation about the book. And then when I was at the library, I didn't even know about it, but all of a sudden I saw it, so I picked it up, and it was called NPR's Podcast Startup Guide. And so I certainly, and here it is. Oh my goodness, it's huge. It would take me a long time to get through that book, and it looks like it's good stuff. Now, most of that stuff I probably already know, but I will certainly learn something from it. But it's really written for somebody who's really into it, a real pro, hardly for a beginner. And 95% of the stuff that's in this book, you don't even need to know. In fact, delegate everything but your genius. And so what you need to do is you'd say, Stan, you know how to do all this stuff. Well, you help me do it, and then I won't have to learn it. I'll just count on the fact that you've been in the business for 40 years, and I don't have to read the stuff because I've got a guy who knows it all who will help me. Of course. And that may be the kind of person you want to be too. And that's how you can demonstrate and get more interest. And by the way, your podcast is a better way of getting performances. Demonstrate your power, your energy, your personality. You may have greater chances to give presentations. When people say, well, we'd maybe like to have you as a speaker, and you'd say, well, read my book. Well, is there any other way? Oh, why don't you listen to my podcast? And they'll find out more about you. Do give that some creative thought. So here we go. Now, there's a lot more we could learn, but we don't need to right now. You need to have the motivation and see the possibility of doing this, and then find somebody who can help you do that. And of course, that's a little bit of what this is about. It's my audition. And by the way, that's what we're always doing in life. We're always auditioning. Life is an audition for audiences. Remember that. Life is an audition for audiences. All the time, everything you do. I'm perhaps writing a book on marketing called The Marketing Your Life, because everything you say and do and be is how you market you. And that goes right along with what I'm talking about here. Now, I perhaps you've heard someone say, oh, you write a book. Well, anybody can write a book. You just sit down and type up the book. Well, of course, that's silly. Well, anybody can be on the radio. You just talk. That's all you do. You just talk. Well, it's not quite that easy, As someone said, how did you get to be a broadcaster? I said, 40 years of practice. Yeah. of scars and stars and bumbles and, yeah. And that's why I can do what I can do pretty easily, because that's what I've done for years. And you know that writing became easier, not easy. It never is easy, but maybe easier when you got into a system, you got into a flow, you knew how to do it, you knew how to work, and you knew how to know that, okay, if I'm going to turn this book out, I know what I have to do to get it out. That's the deal. And so let me encourage you that if you really want to be serious, take some training. It's not about just talking. There's a lot more that goes into it than just talking. There is how you talk, how you use your voice, how you use your voice as an instrument, how you actually use bodily expressions, because actually to be on radio, you are using your body as much as your voice to communicate. You're learning all kinds of things about how you don't ever write a script like you would write a book. You write for the ear, not for the eye. And that's going to be a new thing for you to learn. It's about a conversation. It's about a connection. There's a number of things that you only learn if you say, I'm going to not only learn about radio or voice work, I'm going to learn how to do it, learn from somebody who can help me, and I'm going to try and do it well. And then you start. And you ship. You don't wait until you've done it perfectly. You start. That's the way it is. I get software updates all the time, and what they say, we fixed something. That's what we did. The update, we fixed something. We made it a little bit better. That's the same thing you can do today. As I actually have helped one person, their book is now continually being revised. Totally. It's always being revised. It's always being changed, because we can do that with the technology these days. Just like they do this all the time, revised and expanded. Well, of course, but that can be a continual process. And that means your book is always more and more contemporary. And of course, you keep it updated with the fact that every week, every month, you are talking to your audience and tell them what it's all about. These are the possibilities. So in fact, you might want to take my course just on how to be a world-class podcaster. I'm going to learn how to podcast. And then I'll know, I already know how to write a book. Now I'll learn how to be a podcaster. And now I'll try and put the excellence that I already have in my life, and perhaps the expertise from somebody else. We'll put my excellence and their expertise together, and we might have a pretty good show, a performance, a program, an experience. Remember, we live in an audio-visual world, and everybody is looking for ways to be entertained. I'm not sure that's very good. Neil Postman wrote a great book years ago about our media economy, and it said, amusing ourselves to death. I wish, the library I go to here is wonderful. It's very modern and very nice, but it's very old-fashioned. And in so many ways, it's not just a place where the books are. It is a place of experiences and community. You know what I'm talking about. It is a place where we go to meet people, to do other things. And it's not just the books, it's all the things that go along with that. I would like to help you. We're keeping this, as promised, under an hour, but please reach out to me. You can go to my web stage. Remember, I don't call it a website. I call it a stage. It's a performance place. Here we go. www.WIT Radio. That stands for What It Takes Radio. It takes wisdom, insight, and truth. witradio.net, witradio.net. Or reach out to me at stan@witradio.net. stan@witradio.net. I would love to hear from you. I would love to help you. I would love for us to begin a journey together where we are enjoying. I enjoy your books, you enjoy my programs, and we enjoy having a good time, getting better at what we do, and making more money and having more fun. That's the deal. And that's where we began. That's where we began, and that's where we will end. And now the end is a start of new beginnings, I hope, for both you and me. Best and blessings as we go through these challenging and difficult times. We'll make it. We can do it. Bye for now.